So I have been struggling with something, and I want to share it with you guys. I have attempted to make this video a few times, and it just comes out sounding really bad. But I've just kind of given in. I'm just going to have to lean into it because it just is what it is, and just take it how you want. Whenever I speak into this, but the question, it came from a subscriber, and he said, what are you struggling with right now? And I'll tell you what, it was a great question because it really made me think, and be reflective. Like, what are some things that I'm really struggling with right now? And the first thing that came to mind was this. It is very difficult for me. The further I go down my entrepreneurship journey, my small business ownership journey, it becomes more and more difficult to be relatable to people who are not doing the same thing as me. And that is probably the best and most tactful way I have said that yet. I'm pleased with the way that came out. But in essence, what I'm struggling with is the further you go down your path of, quote, success, I have found that the path that used to be super, super wide, it gets narrower and narrower and narrower, and the further you go, it becomes very narrow. And that's not to say that people who are not doing what I'm doing, they're doing anything wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's very difficult for me to relate to other people, and in particular, this is it. When I hit a new financial milestone or a new success in my business or whatever that thing is, there's not a lot of people to share that with, and if you do, you don't sound like, you just sound kind of like you sound crummy if you start talking about that or bragging about that. But I want to tell you that's tough for me because I like to be surrounded by people who are pulling in the same direction and have the same momentum and the same goals. But it's difficult for me because, again, the further you go down that path, there are fewer and fewer people who are doing that thing that you're trying to do. For example, these last 2 weeks, you have not seen me on YouTube much because we went crazy with the amount of work that we did the last 2 weeks. It was the busiest 2 weeks at Florida Turf Pros since I started the company. Between all the mowing and then the landscaping jobs that we did more landscaping jobs in those 2 weeks than we have done in the entire time. And what that means is financially, the last 2 weeks was the biggest 2 weeks of revenue and profit that has come into our business since I opened the doors to Florida Turf Pros. And we have had some great months and some great bi-weekly turnovers, but I'll tell you what, this was by far the best. And I can't just celebrate that with people because it's tacky and it doesn't sound right to do that, but it's important for me to be able to reach out to somebody and say, hey man, just so you know, we freaking just crushed this. This is a big deal for us. And again, that's something that I'm struggling with because there's just not a lot of people that you can do that with. So what is the takeaway for you in this video? Number one is recognize that the further that you go in your lawn care business or whatever small business you have going on right now, the further you go, the narrower that road gets, and there's just going to be less people cheering for you, the further you go. And once you have some success, and people are like, oh, you great job, and you keep climbing, you keep going, you're going to turn some people off. And again, it's not that they're bad people. You're just doing very different things, and you need to recognize that and prepare for it. Number two, I would suggest trying to surround yourself with people who are trying to do the same thing that you are trying to do, whether it is a mastermind group, or if you can form some relationships with other business owners in your area who are ideally at least where you are, but ideally ahead of you. That would be best case scenario. Number three takeaway is be mindful that it is okay to climb and climb and climb, but you know what? You need to pause sometimes. Pause, turn around, and look behind you, and help that other person behind you. Because here's the thing: all the people who used to be cheering for that person behind you, they're not cheering anymore, because that person is trying to get to where you are, and they've lost their cheerleaders back there. Like, that road is getting narrow, man. You know how it is. So I would just encourage you to stop, turn around, be a cheerleader for somebody who is trying to get to where you are. Because again, you're ahead of somebody else, and somebody else is ahead of you. That's just the way that life is. So to answer your question, bud, my biggest struggle is finding people who are doing the same thing that I'm wanting to do, being able to celebrate success, new milestones. So because that road for me, it gets narrower and narrower the further I go. But I am taking steps to reach out and form new relationships. And I'm also being very intentional to stop, pause, look behind me, and then help the next person along, because they may have lost their cheerleaders, and I want to be somebody who is rooting for the underdog. Appreciate you all. I'll see you in the next one.